Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Brewer. Here. Trustee Grant. Here. Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Tates. Trustee Todd. Here. Trustee Suppan. Here.
Okay, first order of business, you had a chance to, I'm sure, to look over the bids for the paving done by Iroquois. And did anyone have any questions on that?
They have a couple questions,
Okay.
and we don't have the engineer today. I was doing a line-by-line compare and noticed that there were five.
Uh-oh.
There were 5 rows where I thought there was a significant enough difference between the 3 vendors. And I just wanted to confirm that there was no concern about, thank you, no concern regarding those 5 line items about the quality of what we were going to get, since the low bidder that they're proposing we accept their bid had such a lower number on those 5 line items than the other 2 respondents.
Okay, you said 5, I see.
Yeah, here, I can run through them, right? If we're on the first page, the first one is the topsoil, where they've got a cost of $3.24 versus the next closest is almost $1,000. The high bid's over $3,200. 3 items down, preparation of base. They've got a quote of $100 and change. The next closest is $7,500. The other one's double that. 2 down from that. Aggregate for temporary access, again, $3 and odd change versus 360 something and 9,200. On the other page, again, this one is thermoplastic pavement marking for drainage. No, that's the line, 12 cents versus $1,600 odd for the other 2. And then 4 down, sodding, salt tolerant sodding, again, $3.24 versus the other 2 are both in the 3,000 plus range. Significant when you add them up, and I just want to make sure that we're not going to be shortchanged on those particular items by this vendor.
Okay, first of all, our engineers did look at it, they approved it. They know exactly what we're looking for. He's our engineers. I mean, only way we can change that is just we get different engineers, but I'm sure he knows what we want, and if it's not done correctly, because it's not the first time, then he has to make sure that it is at that price. So the material cost, I'm not able to answer that intelligently, because I really don't know what it entails. I know what you're saying. I see what it is, a description, but I'm sure Jim Czarnik has went over that several times, and matter of fact, we were supposed to vote on it last week, but we didn't.
Yeah, I thought so, because he was here then. Yeah. Do you happen to know if we have done business with Iroquois Paving before? Okay, that was my other question.
Matter of fact, we've done business with Iroquois and Gallagher. Deconstruction, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, Gallagher I knew, Iroquois I wasn't familiar so much. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions on this one regarding the Iroquois paving bid? Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept their bid. Second. Who made it first? It was moved by Trustee Brewer, second by Trustee Jones. Any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer.
Yes.
Trustee Grant.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Tates. Trustee Todd.
Yes.
Trustee Suppan.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. The second item is the item for the power rotting by National Power Rotting Holding Corporation. for the sanitary sewers and cleaning and televising. In other words, we're gonna put a camera down there to see if there's any obstructions. Any questions on that?
But, if my memory serves me right, I think we did this, sometime last year, they had cameras down. I'm not quite sure, because we need, history behind it, but I do believe Robinson Engineering, or somebody did this last year, put cameras down in the sewers and took a look, and, of course, residents never found out about it and we denied, but, I think this happened before already. Are we doing this every year, or how often is this?
If you saw, to tell you the truth, I haven't seen it that often. It might have been something special at that time, but this is something that we should do every year. I don't remember voting on anything to clean the sewers last year. Now, that might have been the isolated incident where you're talking about. Could have been something cracked, or one of the drain tiles one of the tiles could have been cracked. But this is for the village, and matter of fact, down my street, I've only saw it twice over in Derrick that they actually came through. So I didn't see anything last year, but this is done periodically. I cannot tell you if it's done every year, but I do know that it has been done. But you said last year, I didn't see anything. I didn't even vote on anything.
Well, it's in my recent memory, so I'm assuming it was last year, but I think we do this every year. And I just like to know the history behind it. Are we still doing with the same vendor every year? And is this how much we pay? Those are the kind of questions I would know, want to know about. The history behind getting these cameras down and taking a look at the sewers.
The vendor is bidded on every year, or every time it's done. I won't say every year if I'm not sure, but the vendor is bidded on every time that it's done. Do we do the same vendor every time? No, but I really don't know. Like I stated before, I have never voted on this. So I wouldn't be able to tell you intelligently if this person does it every year or not. But I do know it has to be done. It should be done. And do you know what it entails? They come out, they clean out the storm sewers, which is approximately 20, 25 feet down.
I agree with that. It has to be done. I just like to know, is this the same people that we do every year?
I can't tell you. Like I stated, since I've been on the board, I've never voted on this happening. So
I think I can add to that. I think maybe what she was talking about is the smoke testing.
Maybe.
That's
them. Now that was done by Robinson Engineering, and they came out to do that themselves. But that was nothing to do with clean out. They didn't clean anything. And there was no cost to the village for that. They just wanted to know.
Relative to the televising of the view of what they see, does Robinson actually go in and do any kind of comparative analysis from the previous to the current version to see if there's deterioration or breaks that weren't in previous versions, so that we might have some idea of where to go tackle if we want to put a plan in place to start working on the infrastructure?
That's a good question. Very good question. And now we'll find that out, because I do not know if they did. That's a good question. Like I stated, I've never seen it before, but I do know that it needs to be done. So that's a good question to compare it to the last one. Any more questions? Any more questions? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept this bid from National Power Holding Corporation for the cleaning and televising of the sanitary sewers in the village.
So moved. Second.
It was moved by trustee Elizabeth Zupan and second by trustee Linda Todd. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Tates? Trustee Zupan?
Yes.
Motion
Did I-
carried.
Did I say trustee Todd? Trustee Todd.
Motion carried. Okay, public comment. Alex I entertain questions from anyone in the audience for 3 minutes pertaining to the items that were on the agenda. You'd like to form a line up front? If not, okay, I'll accept the motion for adjournment. Moved by trustee Beth Zupan and second by trustee Cecil Tate. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We'll be back at 20 minutes at 7 o'clock for the committee. We will call the order to the 7 o'clock committee meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Brewer. Here. Trustee Grant. Here. Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Tates. Here. Trustee Todd. Here. And Trustee Zupan.
Here.
Thank you. The renewal and authorization for the mayor to entertain agreement with Kane, McKenna and Associates. Did everyone get that memo, email? Well, it's a memo. There is actually 2.
One came last week, and one came today.
Right. And we're going to talk about both. We did, the other one came today. That was the, I guess the double page one, yes. Well, it's really 4 pages. So we can take the first one first. We'll take the agreement that we have, the village and the scope of services, the village annual TIF reports. Everyone got that?
I kind of felt like, wasn't that TIF report included in the other letter though, too, to some extent? Because if you look at page 2 of the second Walker letter, it says required TIF district reports. Is that the same or different than what they called out in the previous letter?
Okay, well, the second one is actually for the consulting services that they give. They consult us on the TIFs, and that's actually that part. The first one is actually both are TIF reports, but the first one is basically when they come and actually attend the TIF meetings. They schedule the TIF meetings, and they advise us on things that are going on. The second one is actually when they come out and have to do when they meet with the village and make sure that that when we do work or when work is done there, that everything is in compliance.
Why wouldn't this all be one?
Well, that's because if you notice the first one. And when I'm saying the first one, the 2-pager, you have that one?
We're talking about fees.
Yes. Those fees are charged us if they have to do any activity or anything that's not scheduled.
So, questions. Do we always use Kane, McKenna and Associates?
We've always have used them, but I mean, no, there's nothing always, but they've been our consultants for the TIF since I've been here, since we had the TIFs.
And then my next question is, I see that we have the different rates.
Yes.
Like we just talked about, but how do you break that down?
I asked that same question too when Mary Thompson came out, and she was considered a officer. I've never had to deal with the president. I think one time when I was part of the economic development, I did deal with the executive vice president. So anytime you have to deal with them, but my question would be just what you just got to stating, why do I have to deal with the president? So I'm not, me myself, I would love to deal with just, the administrator is to be the person that's actually doing the typing. You can see that. And the associates, I've never dealt with associates. I've always dealt with Mary or the vice president of Kane McKenna, which is Mr. Kane. So I've never dealt with anyone else. So, and that's why every time we have them come out, TIF or whatever, but the money for these services are taken out of the TIF funds. So the village actually doesn't pay, but every time, you know, we need clarity on something, if we're paying something or we're trying to do something, we have to call, we should call them and make sure that we're doing it correctly. We are the trustees for the TIFs. Amalgamated Bank holds the money, and they let us know what we can and cannot do legally.
Okay, so you said Mary is charging the officer rate?
Mary, yes.
Is that the rate? Because her title is not officer.
And she told me, wow, I see that there. She told me that she was charging at the officer rate, and you're right. I'll make sure that she gets that in writing. I'll make sure I get that in writing before it's signed. Absolutely. Any more questions?
Do you think that Mohan would have a cost of what we paid last year for this?
Sure. That should be something readily available because, as I stated, it's paid from the TIF. But yes, everything that's paid has paperwork, yes. So before we vote, which will be next week, I'll make sure I find out because she told me she was charging the officer's rate, so I'll make sure that it is the officer's rate when she does it.
Question of observation,
Trustee
usually
Brewer.
I,
No, I'm just saying trustee Brewer for the.
The TIF is one of those items that we're not too familiar with. Is there any way we could get a little background? I mean, I understand a little bit from all the FOIA requests I used to write, but I think we need to have a more in-depth session on TIFs and, you know, how much property tax did we generate last year versus what we're going to get this year, sales tax and all that sort of stuff. You know, we need to know that. And also construction and full-time jobs estimate. You know, you're looking at me, see, that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm asking you, are you asking how many full-time jobs?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We are not privy to that because all they do is the TIFs. Okay, first of all, do you understand what the TIFs do?
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Well, yeah.
You understand why there are TIFs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as far as how many employees each one of the businesses employ, I've never had anybody ask that question. I don't know. I don't even know it because a lot of those businesses employ part-timers. A lot of them go through services. That, you know, in other words, when they work there at the facility, they're not actually working, so they're working for a service.
The reason I brought it up because they identify this in one of the bullet points here, and I was wondering why was that important. It says construction and full-time jobs estimates.
Well, okay, full-time job estimates. They will tell us how many, okay, just take for instance WinPAC. WinPAC stated that they would have X amount of jobs. They give an estimate of how many jobs will be created with this new expansion. And they said that, however, most of the people that are in WinPAC on the first leg, which is the one that's been there for a few years, are still part-timers. So how many I mean, creating the job and making that particular job full-time is two different things. We don't know when they make it full-time. I don't know if they have to report to us that when they make it full-time. I don't think they would have to tell the village that we got X amount of full-time or part-time. They do have to do that to the government though, because of taxes. But we can also ask, you know, I'm gonna be visiting the businesses. I can ask questions like that and find out. But to know offhand how many jobs are created or how many jobs are there at those particular industrial parks?
We don't know.
No.
And suppose while they're doing the infrastructure, you know, the building and everything, the plans has changed. Do they let us know?
Well, they have to.
Okay. So, I mean, you just need some general questions.
Yeah. I mean, when I go see them and yeah, well, there hasn't been a TIF meeting in years.
Wow.
But you will be having TIF meetings now. There haven't been TIF meetings in years. And so now there will be some TIF meetings. And at those meetings, we can sit and listen, but we do have, I'll be there, and then economic development will be there. But then our TIF lawyers and our TIF engineers will be there too on our behalf. So we can have those questions asked. But then again, here's the problem. All of the businesses are not going to be, all the businesses in TIF 3 will not be at that TIF meeting. I can tell you that. Some of them will be. You may be WinPack, it may be Warehouse Specialties. I don't even think Bear Paint will be there. I'm not sure if Jacobson Trucking will be there. Or I think it was Getz. I don't think they'll be there. Because I've never seen them at a TIF meeting before. So,
Offhand, do you know how much revenue we got from them last year?
do we get from them?
Yeah.
We get approximately, we get what they call a service allotment for services rendered, police, fire, public works, anything like that. Roughly $200,000 a year.
And that money's been spent?
Goes in general fund.
Oh.
Any other questions in regards to this first item? And that's for Kane, McKenna. Okay, Madam Clerk, could you put this on the agenda for next week to be voted? Next item. This is the item for amending the water rates. Everyone get a chance to look at that. That's it'll be in your pamphlet, number 17-006. The previous one was 17-005. Yeah. Is this not vote agenda? Vote.
1706 is designations. One of the designations is 1706. Was passed prior to your taking office, correct?
005 was passed prior to me taking office.
Yeah, 1706 was the honorary designations ordinance.
That's not what it should be.
Yeah, 1705
Okay, well then I need to get printed 17006. This is the one that's amended for the, in other words, to amend the charges, bring it back to $750 instead of $650 per thousand. We don't have that.
I don't think the P.L.A.N. is all I'm saying.
Okay, well, 005, well, and then I don't know how 06 got printed. But anyway,
Because it's on the agenda, wasn't it?
no, it's on the agenda down at the bottom of the chart. We go from
Number 7.
number 7, correct?
1706.
Right. Okay, then this one says 1706. That's what I have. No. Does anybody, no one has 1706?
We have 1706 as the honorary designation ordinance passed on May 9th.
one is, because you shouldn't have two ones the same. Okay, well, then we'll have to, since you don't have it, pardon me? This one. You have to.
Since there's obviously a mix-up in the designation, numerical designation of these ordinances,
Correct.
can we take 0, I'm not even sure what it should be. Can we take the new one for discussion on the water rates and give it a new designation where it's not 006?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
If you want to call it 005A,
Well, Madam Clerk, can we have this one printed?
well,
The one that it is numbered incorrectly, but it is the ordinance that we need to talk about.
then we need to change the one that's 006 is the honorary designations. Then that needs to be changed. Something's got to be changed.
Okay, this one here, this ordinance here was printed, and we need to talk about it.
It was
Whether or not we're going
passed.
to, no, this was never passed.
Yes, it was.
To raise the rates back to $1?
No.
Thank you, that's what this one is. No. Read this, give it to her, read it. That one, that's to put it back. And that's the one that was made up. Okay, well, that's what I'm saying, but I need to get, everybody needs to get a copy of that so we can discuss it. Oh, you have a copy? What, there's no number? Okay. Okay, but then let's discuss this one, so. Who doesn't have a copy of this one? You need two? So you said you have one? Yeah. Beth, you don't have one. Burgess, you don't, then you need three. You don't have it at all. The one that we're talking about has my name on there. Is that okay? No, the front page. What about the other? No, that's not the one we're talking about. No.
That's still has David Hanks on it.
No, the one we're talking about has my name on it. You know how to record it. You know how to record it. Man, about to record it. I told her this before.
The other thing we have attached is showing how previously approved ordinance was voted.
Correct. That's the old one. That's the one that with the reduction is on. How it got labeled that way. And I asked about this, and it was told to me that everyone had a copy, so I didn't know how to find out if you did or didn't because your books weren't there.
I think what we have a copy of that is a little bit of a mishmash of old and new. So from an electronic perspective, we probably just need to double check what we have.
And we'll take a, but we can't go on because she's taping the meeting, so have to make sure that she's here to do that. To speed things along, I'm just going to kind of because she's not here to tape the actual meeting. So I just want to make a couple announcements real quick, and it doesn't need to be taped. The first one being Sam's Club membership. Sam's Club will be here June 21st. There's a flyer in the back of the room for anyone that wants to sign up and get a Sam's Club card. And I'll see some things that if you spend X amount of money, you get either a gift card or even a rotisserie chicken. But that'll be June 21st, Wednesday, here at Village Hall from 9:30 to 1. So the flyers are in the back, and that's for anyone in the village. They'll be here to sign you up so you can get a Sam's Club card. They got on here that you, for every $500, I'm sorry, for every $10, you get $10 for every $500 that you buy annually. So, also real quickly, this way we can expedite, there are jobs that are going to be posted. And the jobs are for summer help for 4 part-time public works employees. The applications are at the front at the desk, so you can come in and pull an application, put down what it is that you want to apply for. And the second job that's going to be posted is one for part-time code enforcement officer. So both of them are part-time, but there'll be 5 jobs that'll be posted, and also the you can take the application. All right. Back to item number 3 on the agenda. Everyone can take a look at it. And on page 2, there's only one thing that changed, and that was, and the date will change. It says effective June 1st, but that'll change quite naturally. We haven't even voted on it yet, but this is the agenda. This is the amended ordinance, and the amendment is to bring it back to $7.50 from $6.50 per 1,000 gallons. Are there any questions from the board? Does everyone understand what we're trying to do? Yes.
So the date will change after whether it's approved or not, if it is approved that date,
Right, this will be put on the agenda to be voted on next week. If you have any questions, please, bring them up. If you have, right now, I apologize for the fact that you didn't get the right one, but now that you do, you still have another week. And if it's something that you feel that is not conducive, please let us, yes, trustee.
Also, I remember the previous administration stating that I think would be don't quote me, a loss of $172,000 in revenue for the $1 decrease. So does that figure still remain the same as we should get the $172,000 back on an annual basis?
Well, back and what we lose, that's over a period of a year.
Right.
When you decrease it $1, you lose $172,000 of revenue for the year.
Right.
So right now, I think it's by the time we do this, if it is passed, it'll be 2 months. Because it was put in for May. That's when the increase went up, so that's May and June.
Right.
And then this, after we vote on it next week, it'll probably be July 1st. That's probably what you'll have on you, because we need to do it monthly.
So it may be 155 or 160. It won't be the full 172 that we get back.
I'm not going to sign off on that math, but we will be back up to where we were. Any other questions?
Is there any excuse me, actual numbers on savings that per household or roundabout that was going to be saved with this dollar? I mean,
No, he's talking about
no,
per house, dollar
per household, per 1,000 gallons.
Depends on, I mean, if your household, uses the minimum, which is about, I think, 3,500, so you figure $3.50 per household. Or if you quite naturally use more, then, you know, it'll be more,
Well,
money
the,
that you
the
pay.
minimum is what, $95?
I just had someone talk to me about that today, and the minimum is basically $102 every 2 months with your water bill. I'm sorry, with your, that includes your garbage bill. And garbage, I'm sorry, water, sewage, garbage, utility tax.
102 is the minimum.
102 is the minimum per every 2 months.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, because I know like how I did by me, it's like maybe 50 cents. I mean, it is not going to even.
No, it's not that much of a, no.
Right, you won't even see
No.
the difference.
But collectively you will.
Right.
Because your utility tax also goes with your, it's prorated from what your bill is. Yes.
If this is approved, passed, the $1, are we going to make sure that this goes exactly what it's intended for, back to infrastructure? So putting it to the side, and that way that we can build upon that money so we can have it for a later date.
Your water income is put to the side. If you notice on your accounts payable, you see I light them on the side that says WS. That's what that account is, water and sewer account. So it is itemized, but from time to time we have to utilize it if we don't get money, as we haven't got money from the state enough to just pay payroll. Not just talking about the bill, the vendor bill, just to pay payroll, and that's what happened. And that's part of business. I mean, until Springfield decides that they want to let this money go, the money's there. It's not that they don't have the money's there. They even told us that if we wanted to, we can borrow our own money at 3%. And that's what they stated down in Springfield. Oh, the money's here, but we can't release it because legislation tells us that we can't do it. So, but if your village is, you know, in dire or whatever, we will loan it to you with an interest. So whenever they do let it go, you pay that plus interest back, or you pay payments until they let it go. It's been it'll be 3 years that they haven't paid income tax. They pay sales tax. Sales tax comes in. Some of the property tax comes in. But the income tax from the state, they've holding off on it. So that's what we're struggling with right now. And it's quite a few dollars. Quite a few dollars.
To trustee Grant's
To trustee Grant's point, though, I think at some point we need to have a conversation about setting up a new GL for infrastructure repairs so that it's earmarked and set aside so that we're not getting tempted as much to pull that money away, you know, because going further back when we first had the issues with the water and needed to raise the rates, it wasn't even about the air strippers at that point. It was about the fact that we were running at a deficit to begin with and weren't even taking in enough revenue from the water to cover the salaries of the folks in public works that were associated to the water, if you will. So, you know, and then it became a matter of the air strippers. So I think, and it's probably a conversation for a different day, we need to, as part of the budget, look at our situation with the infrastructure and the pipes and say, is this dollar a good start towards putting aside money into its own separate general ledger that we're not going to touch and not going to borrow and then put back at a later date, so that we can then have it and get that plan in place to start to use it towards improving and making those repairs.
That's a very good point, and what you said is absolutely right. Why should we keep putting this money where it could be borrowed? It should be segregated. It should be put in a separate account. However, right now, if we didn't have, and we have to look at the alternative, if we didn't have the money to borrow from, we wouldn't be able to pay payroll. So that's one thing, that we're fortunate to do that. However, Right now, we owe $2.2 million to the water fund from the inception of the time that we started taking money. And that's longer than 3 years or 4 years. But we owe that. Have we paid any part of that back? Probably, but took it out again. So it's like still Peter to pay Paul. Okay, you pay Paul back, or you pay Peter back, but then you got to go back again. And you're right. I would be looking for something, and that's something that we are going to talk about in the future. If we raise anything over this, to have that money segregated, that we can't touch it. We have enough right now to do what we're doing. But from then on, start using it. Start getting these phases, start doing these things, and take the money, because as we can see, if it sits there long enough, there's going to be some kind of way we're going to use it, because we're going to need it. So that's why we're trying to cut the expenses of the village. That's why things are being cut, but it should be earmarked. If we raise it any more after this to do infrastructure repairs, and it should be earmarked for infrastructure repairs, and they should be done after the first 2 months, because it takes 2 months for us to get the money, and start doing those repairs to work towards Lake Michigan water, because that's what it's for. So after this is done, anything after that should be put aside. And as we said, if it's $2, then that's put aside to start working toward getting Lake Michigan water, because it's mandated. Yes, Trustee Brewer.
2 questions, well-done comments.
Are we still on this? Okay, I'm just gonna make sure that we're still on this particular ordinance.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, that even though we taken these funds for the water, and we this $1 would help us put the money back into the water fund. However, past practices, we have always dipped into the water fund to pay payroll, and I think residents should understand that it's an ongoing thing, and that's what we've been doing all the time. Of course, the money needs to be segregated so we can stop using it for payroll. Residents are paying this money for infrastructure repair, Lake Michigan water, okay? Absolutely nothing has been done for residents for the last 8 years. Even though you're taking this money, it seems like to me this money is used to supplement payroll. That's what it should be called, not the water fund. It's used to supplement payroll. And another comment I want to make is that even though we're taking in this money for the water fund, we steadily adding people onto payroll. Doesn't make sense. Why you keep padding the payroll when this money is supposed to be used for water fund? So we sort of doing the same thing they did before, past practices. Residents ask for a reform. If we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, we got to find some kind of medium way to get the residents what they want.
Okay. Now, what I said earlier is, right now, the dollar was taken out of the fund that we've had this $7.50 for, I forgot how many years, I think it's 2 years. Okay. I made the suggestion, and it's up to the board to vote it whenever we get to this point, that anything else after this, any money that's raised should be and will be segregated to pay to get toward Lake Michigan water, to get whatever we have to do to make it happen. Do we take the money and use it to borrow, to take it to pay payroll? Unless you have another idea, I don't know what would you do. I mean, do you tell people they don't get their check? As far as adding money, adding people to the payroll, I mean, you have to, you do business in the village. Now, we don't have certain people that were in, and this is not even part of this, but I'm just going to say we have cut a lot of, I would say, a lot of fluff off the budget now. We don't use the lawyers as much as you should know. We don't lose a lot of services as much, but we do need to have certain services in order for us to operate. We do need certain services for us to remain as efficient as we are. Because before, money was just going out and nobody was just, they were just looking at, okay, this is what it is. But that's why I'm here every day, to make sure that things are done on the up and up, to make sure that the money is spent wisely. But doing that, the public also needs to have this village cleaned up, have this village look a presentable way, so when we try to bring newcomers in here, that they can see that the village is not just disarray. So those are the things, and that's why we hire, especially seasonal, is to take care of the things. A lot of people, we wish we could get our neighbors to come out and cut the grass, or we can make sure that these owners of these facades or these owners of these rental properties come out and do it. We ticket them, yes we do. But in the meantime, it's still growing, grass is still growing, so we have to have somebody to do it. And we have to, because if we don't end up not doing it and not having it to happen, then what do you do? So that's why the part-timers. But right now, let's do with this. If you want it to be put on the agenda next week to be voted on, I mean, I'll just ask to put it on there, and then from next week you can vote it up or down. I'm not asking for a consensus. If you notice, I'm not asking consensus. But we have to do business. We have to have, it's good that we do have that. If you talk to other villages, ask them what they do with their water fund. Ask them what they do with their contingency fund. We just happen to have that. If we didn't have it, look at the alternative. Then where would we get the money from? Can't take it out of anything else. So it would have to come from that. Not saying that we should use it as a piggy bank, but okay, but still, just like a piggy bank, you're glad to have it. What's the alternative? Nobody gets paid that week? So I'm just saying that it's something to think about, but this is just to raise it back to where it was. You know, even though it was told that 95% of the people pay their water bill on time, and that's why it was taken away. I beg to differ. I see it now. No, they don't. 95% of nobody pays anything on time. It's all good. No one. So I mean, that was a nice to add on, but you know, no, it doesn't happen. But that's not why we need to do this so we can move forward. But make the money that we use work for us, work for this village. You know, and yes, Lake Michigan water.
You know, I'm for Lake Michigan. My comment is
Well,
that residents need
Lake
to
Michigan is not
understand.
for, it's a mandate.
I understand.
It's mandated.
I understand that, but I'm just saying residents need to understand that we're using the funds right now to supplement payroll,
Only
not to
when,
do infrastructure
only
repair.
when necessary.
Well, okay.
If we were using it all the time, you wouldn't have anything in there. But trust me.
We done it.
Any other questions on this particular ordinance?
I think that what we have to be clear about though is payroll is one thing, accounts payable is a different topic altogether. And borrowing from the water fund to cover payroll is a lot more palatable than just paying bills. Because I know we, in the past, have just taken what reserve we have, hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the water fund to pay some bills. And I don't think that that's something that I would be keen to do versus covering payroll on a temporary basis where we're keeping track of it and we're making every effort to pay that back is a different thing.
Okay, excuse me. Okay, any more questions on this? Madam Clerk, can you put that on the agenda for next week to be voted on? Okay, number 4, that's the appointment of a village treasurer. Does everyone have that? What you have, it should be the duties of a village treasurer. I don't know. I know the new board has never experienced it. Trustee Jones, Trustee Tate, was the village treasurer in place when you got it?
He was in place,
But he was in place? Okay. We need a village treasurer. And I'm looking to bring that back and bring that position back. It's not that it was voted out, but I just wanted you guys to kind of look at it. It's not off the rolls. It was never voted off the rolls. It's just that the village treasurer was gone. We need to bring it back.
Who's been
Yes.
completing the responsibilities in the absence of a treasurer?
Our finance director. And right now, that's not good practice. So the treasurer needs to be, we need to have a treasurer. So I just want you guys to look at that and just take a look at that. If there's any discussion about the particular job as far as what they do, I'm open for discussion right now. If not, then That's something that I'm looking to have voted back in for a village treasurer.
That's why we need to vote it back in.
Well, I'm just letting you know that we're going to put it back in, and but the logistics of it, we have to discuss in executive session.
Question.
Yeah.
Just like the department heads, will the village treasurer be required to come to the board meetings every meeting?
I will make that requirement, yes.
Okay. And will they also be required to give a once-a-month collecting report?
When they come to the meeting, yes, that's your report. Okay, number 5, strategic plan for progress. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? You've had it since you've been in office. We was going to take it up and vote on it, but I decided that since it is kind of lengthy to have you guys take a look at it. And if there's any questions about it, that's this one. We can talk about it because I wanted to put it into effect and put it on the next agenda. Are there any questions about the plan, strategic plan? We need a plan. We need a plan so we can have a blueprint of what it is that we're about to try to do. Have something in place just in case anything happens, but we have something in place. This is a way to move the village forward.
Question.
And to have a blueprint. Yes, sir. Yes.
Exactly what are we voting on?
The plan itself.
I mean, do we need to, I mean, that's kind of agreement. I mean, that
You put it in, you voted to put it in place, and then you implement it as you go. In other words, there are different things that we can implement. But basically, the plan itself,
what I'm saying, it's not an ordinance or nothing.
Yeah,
It's,
why are you feeling it's something that's going on?
so we can use this as a blueprint to better serve the village, have something in there. If you notice, that's what I was asking. If you notice, if you go on page, okay, there's not a number. So it's 1, 2, 3, page 4 where it says priority goals for the Burgess plan. Did you see that? There's no number. Improve village planning, increasing efficiency in village government, building stronger and safer neighborhoods, creating quality jobs, improving our infrastructure. It's time to invest in the future of our village, vibrant commercial districts, keeping our village safe, state-of-the-art policing and fire departments. Continue rebuilding on the Parks and Recs program, guarantee clean water and healthy environment, and strong schools for Sauk Village. These are some of, and communication, improving our dialogue with citizens and home ownership, promotion and expansion. These are some of the things that we need to have in place, and at least we can refer back to see if that we can try to find a way to make these things to part of the village. No, it doesn't have to be an ordinance, but yes, it can be a plan like you have a comprehensive plan. This could be something that we can refer to and say, okay, this is what, as a checkoff, to do some of these things. And then it explains in more detail as you go on in the plan what's needed to make that happen. But these are the primary goals, and then it shows in the plan itself how we can go about it. It's not a all to beat all, but it is like a dictionary to try to give us a reference for what it is we're trying to do.
Comment. I provided you, Mr. Mayor, with some comments from the plan of things that I had thought about when I reviewed it. I think it's a good idea for everyone to at least look at it so we'll be on the same page as what we're trying to do. So I found it to be helpful, and some of those things I questioned, and I gave the mayor copies of that. I think if all of us at least reviewed the plan, asked our questions, we may want to revise something in there, or we may want to omit something that's in there. And the last thing, we want to add something, which I hope is not the case. But the things that we need to do, we need to be on the same sheet of music when we're trying to implement something like that. So I think it's a good idea that everyone review it. I'm not saying that you gotta swear, take an oath that you're gonna follow it, but at least we review it and we'll know where we're supposed to be going or where we're trying to go. And we can do it as a group. We can do it collectively.
But there are some things in here that are very specific, and voting on it, I think implies that you're gonna follow it, and when there are very specific things in here, in the back, or in the pros, you know, for 2017, it should already be in the planning, if not close to execution phase, if we were going to actually execute these for 2017. And we don't even have a budget yet, so I would feel uncomfortable voting on some of this because I would think the expectation is when they vote that this is gonna happen.
Well, you will notice I said that everyone should review it. I didn't say everyone should vote on it. Everyone should review the plan to know what's in the plan. And if you want to vote on it, you can do that. But I'm saying that we should all review the plan so we know what we're trying to do and be in agreement or disagreement and make changes as necessary. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's fine to be a guideline. I just don't think it's something that should be set in stone because of the fact that there are very specific things mentioned in here that are already to the point where they should be in the planning stages.
Okay, as was just said, I mean, this is something that you got a month ago, and it's something that it took me a while to write it up. But you're right, a lot of things that are on here, especially in the back, wasn't implemented, but they need to be.
I don't disagree.
They need to be, but we need to, at some point in time, identify them. And if it's not 217, 218, but this is a projection of the cost and the things that need to be done. And it's not that it's etched in stone. Water is etched in stone. It said at some point. So this could be at some point that we should do these things. Now, the years could change. We don't even, you know, we're hoping that we can do that in those times. And if you notice the page before that, it actually shows Cornell down 223rd Street that is going to happen. That actually is going to happen. So that's already been allotted, the money's there, it's just a matter of them actually doing it. So the next one could be, doesn't have to be 2017 for that next improvement down Peach Street. And some of them are going to be done, what is that, Willow? I think it is Willow Tree. Is going to be taken care of this year also in the neighborhood, not on 23rd Street, but Willow Tree itself. So those are some of the things that, but we need to have a guide. I think we should have a guide, something to work towards, something to have down and say, okay, this is what we're going to work towards. When we get the money from MFT or CDBG or whatever grant money that we get, we should have something there ready, as they say, so we can present it to whatever legislator that wants to say, you know, what can we do for you, or petition for this money. But we have to have something in place. We have to have something to show this is what we're going to do, and this is all this is. It's not a, you know, it's not going to be a referendum like the water. The water was a referendum. But this is something that we should try to attain. You know, if there's anybody feels that we, you know, or they want to add something to it, take something away, okay, this is the time to do it. I'm not asking to vote on it next week. I'm asking you to take a serious look at this and the next item, that we can put these things on the records to start doing this, to start working toward these things. And I think that that's something, like I said, this is the blueprint. If you have something you want to add to it, take away, we can discuss it. But each and every meeting, we're going to be talking about this.
For the record, I haven't had one.
Okay.
Question. Item C on the strategic plan talks about strong neighborhoods make strong villages. Item C in the strategic plan talks about strong neighborhoods make strong villages.
Use the mic, please.
My question is to you, that you gave examples of, this seems like a general description of what needs to be done, but it doesn't give any meat to what we have to do in order to get these strong neighborhoods and to make a strong village. I don't understand the part C on here, so that's my thing. What did you have in mind when you said?
On strong villages?
It says.
Building strong, okay, if you look further into the plan.
Okay, it says, wait a minute, I'm not finished with my
Oh,
comment.
well, you said.
Okay, it says establishing a citizen advisory council. Now, it is my understanding that we had something like a neighborhood watch thing before. Now, this is something new, or are we not going back to that, or are we having a new plan to do this, or how does this work?
Is it right here?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm just saying for example, I mean, the whole thing looks a little general to me.
It is.
It's
general.
not giving us any,
It does give you, you have a heading, and then it does explain it inside. Now, I didn't know if you wanted to read the whole thing, but it does explain what I was talking about. It has an explanation there, like 5 bullet points, and then a long paragraph. And it kind of shows you, you know, what it is that I was talking about. Like I stated before, you don't have to go by
no,
that.
I think it's a
But I
good
think
point.
that this does give us at least a blueprint that we can work toward. And it shows that. It shows that, I mean, yes, there was the heading that you stated, but I didn't want to go read the whole thing, but it shows the plan for strengthening neighborhoods. And these are some of the things that I would like to see us try to ascertain.
Well, I mean, it's a good plan, but, you know, first thing to come to mind is we don't have money.
If you notice,
Yeah.
it said volunteerism for all parts of the community to encourage diversity and cooperation. Volunteerism. Village is not built on money, it's built on volunteers. And that's something that we need to stress, because your village, so goes your volunteers, so goes your village. Because a volunteer works 3 times as hard as a person getting paid, because they're volunteer, and they have their heart into it. Person getting paid looking for the money. Volunteerism encourages diversity and cooperation.
Chief Kowalski has, I guess, a blueprint of a program that he would like for us to adopt. I think it's best that we wait. He'll be at the next board meeting. Perhaps he can explain his concept or his thoughts on what the village should do. And this was, he had developed some of this prior to the latest incident. You realize we had a shooting a couple of days ago. That was even prior to then, but he had started writing things down that he was going to present to this board. And I happened to have talked to him for a few moments to get some ideas from him. But I think that at the next board meeting, that's one of the questions that could be asked of the police chief as to what is his concept, what is his thoughts about what we should do as legislators. To enact the provision for safe neighborhoods, as Trustee Brewer just brought up. So I would like to just wait and hear from the police chief to hear what he has to say.
Good point, Trustee Tate, but what the police chief was talking about were the neighborhoods and things that need to be, but this plan not only deals with neighborhoods, it deals with the infrastructure, it deals with the jobs, it deals with the water, it deals with the schools. This is for the whole neighborhood. What he was talking about, and it should be, is the fact that, you know, we need to put something in place for the neighbors, the neighborhood, and for the youth. And basically that's what he's saying, that a lot of times there's nothing for them to do, and there should be something in place. But this, I'm not asking anyone, again, I'll reiterate, I'm not asking anybody to vote on this right now. I'm just saying, this is something that should be in place for the village. We should be able to add or subtract from it, but it's a guideline. It's not a all to beat all. It's a guideline that there's nothing in place right now. It has never been since I've been a trustee. We've always said what we're going to do, but we never put anything in writing to say, okay, let's do this. This is actually in writing, something we can do, but it's not, I don't want it to be a mandatory that we have to do it this way. So that's why I'm asking the board to look at this, critique it, tear it apart if you need be. But there should be something in place that we can go by to say that we're trying to move forward. This time next year, we can look and say, okay, we did do this, we did A and B. Now it's time for us to go down. We need to do something, we need to challenge ourselves as a board to show this village that we're trying to do something other than what was being done prior to this time. And that's what I think that we're put here to make sure that we try to do something other than. Because if we were trying to do other than, then a lot of us wouldn't be here on this board. So I think that we are commanded by the village to do it a little different and to have a blueprint, something they can see. People like show and tell. They want to see something. We can sit up here and talk all day long, but they need to see something, which is rightly so. They see their money leaving. So they should have something to see what's that we can at least show something, come back and say we did do A and B this time next year. So I'm just asking everyone to take a look at this. Every week we'll talk about it. We'll see until we get to the point and say, okay, let's try it. Or we can even say, let's try A, B, and C. Let's try something, but let's do something instead of just talking about it. I think we should actually try to do something. Or if you have something else other than that's on here, we need to talk about that, but at least let's do something. Okay, the next item, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I do agree that we do need a plan, but I would like a copy. I've asked for a copy of the 1999 comprehensive plan to see how that is set up, because some of the things that I'm reading in here is almost like campaign literature, where it says, I was reading the first part of this, and I'm not sure what part of this is you want as the plan, if it's all of it that I'm reading, because some of it will say, I'm waiting for the upcoming election, but then it signs, your name is the mayor. So I guess what I need to know is, what part are we looking at for your your comprehensive plan?
The page that says that the heading priority goals of the Burgess plan. Did you see that?
Right, I have that. I've read through this, so I want to make sure.
Those are the things that I'm looking to try to implement. And then as Trustee Brewis was stating that there's, in other words, how do we get to that? And then I have the explanation within the plan itself. But now, as far as the 1999 comprehensive plan, you don't have a copy. I can get you a copy. Right. About this day.
I mean, right, but or either that or I'll come in and I'll read it, just to do a comparison.
You can't come and read it. It's pretty extensive. And that's another thing.
It's just to kind of give a guideline, because as I'm looking at this, I mean, it's talking about the 19. You want it as the Burgess plan, why can't it be the Village of Sauk Village?
There you go. There you go.
I don't think it just should
No,
say Burgess.
But
So-
see, at the time I did that, it was just, I was doing that, but now, and you have to get it right, it can be changed, when it should be changed. And it won't be that.
Okay.
But that's what I have right now.
Okay.
And I didn't reprint anything, but I need to bring it by the board so they can see a blueprint so we can have something to go on.
Okay, thanks.
Last comment on this topic, while you're making changes,
I would like to suggest then for the appendix on the roads that instead of potentially having the years associated to the different components, that maybe you call them phases. So that we've got phase 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, can I ask a question of anyone that wants to make a change? Could you please put it in writing, because I need to write it down so I can do that, because I'll forget 10 minutes after I leave.
I think that's what the meeting minutes are for, right?
I still need to have it written down. I still need to have it written down. I don't know if she's gonna write verbatim or not. Okay, the next one is basically the same thing, financial policy and procedures. This is also, you had a chance to look at it. All I've asked now is that you look at it a little bit more open-mindedly, and add the same thing, because these are some of the things that we need to change, some of the things that we need to implement in the village. I'm not going to go over everything, but I just want you to look at it. If you see something, that's why you have it in front of you. You can write notes in it, hand it back, put your own comments in it, or change it. But we do need to put something in place for policies and procedures for finance.
Question. So there's nothing in place right now at all?
Not a policy or procedure, no.
Okay. So I did go through it myself, and I'll write some recommendations down and hand them to you. But also, is it possible that we can give a copy of this to Mohan and whoever the new treasurer may be, so
Yep.
they can add some recommendations or some additions?
Absolutely.
And then we can all come together and then implement whatever.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Like I stated before, these are guidelines that I would like to see us move forward, not just stay, in one spot. So this is something that I like to see and work towards as a board, so we can look back after the first 365 days and say, okay, we have done this, we moved this, and we need to change. And these are some of the things that I think, as I stated before, and I keep saying it, this is just my idea. I need the board's input.
In this instance, there are several things that I think have previously been approved via ordinances, so I don't know how you want to approach that. If we go section by section and pick through.
You want to do that tonight?
No, not at all. But, this I think is something where it definitely lends itself to being in ordinance form, to say there's an ordinance approving blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Whether it's one ordinance or multiple, because I think what's in here is going to change existing ordinances in a lot of cases.
And, okay, that's good.
Question.
Yes, trustee.
Page 4, who are you referring to? Well, this plan, I should say you, I'm sorry. As budget officers.
Mike, please.
On page 4, it refers to budget officer. Who is that?
What do you see?
Is that the finance director?
Okay. Of course,
Is that the mayor?
the mayor shall appoint a budget officer.
So we getting a new person?
No. Your budget officer is more than likely would be your finance director and your budget and finance committee.
But isn't that a conflict of interest if he has to do reconciliations and all that sort of stuff? That's not,
No,
we don't have a treasurer on board.
Well, we don't have a treasurer
Yeah,
now,
so-
but I'm just saying, your budget officer is the one that makes sure that you stay on budget. And that's what you have your
The mayor's talking, I'm not saying a word.
Okay. Hold on. The budget officer is somebody that the mayor does appoint. But usually it would be the finance director, because all money comes to him, and he knows what comes out of the accounts payable and payroll. And then also we have a budget and finance committee. So that is, what do you mean by redundant, or would you say that you could be redundant?
If he's doing all the services, which he's taking care of now, he's taking care of all the financial services now. He's doing village treasurer job. He needs
Right. That's why we're gonna need a treasurer. That's why we need one.
Yeah.
Because one person shouldn't be doing all that. Anything else? Anyone has anything else? So you take this is homework. I never had it before, but we have homework. We got a position, so let's just get some input. Jot it down, write it down, put it on a separate page. But these are some of the things that this administration should be and will be looking for as input. Remember I said input from the board? This is input. Okay. Okay. ordinance that you just, we talked about this one. This is the same one. This is the one that you got, 006, that's actually numbered, and the other one, this is two different ones, so don't get them confused. This one is the amending the chapter 66 of the village code to include provisions regarding honorary designation. This ordinance was passed on May 9th. I'd like to have it revisited because I think there's some things on there that I don't think we should have, but I'm just one person, so I'd just like to get some input from the board. Are you guys okay with this particular ordinance the way it's written? Yes, Trustee Tate.
Why do we only have one on this side?
Yeah. I don't know why you all. Y'all special.
Mr. Mayor, I had spoken on this subject a while back, a couple of weeks ago. And if you look at the ordinance that was approved, there are several parts of this that causes some concern. If you look at the second page of it, it says eligibility. The program is intended to recognize individuals that have a profound impact on the village of Sauk Village. Who identifies what a profound effect is? If you talk to 10 people, they probably will have a different definition of what's a profound effect of the village. Also under that section, it talks about no less than 12 years of service, elected or appointed. It talks about 50 signatures from residents of the community. Then you get down to where it's 150 signatures from residents of the community. And the interesting part is down in 66-204. It says the requesting resident shall ask to be placed on the committee meeting agenda within 1 month to present the honoree reasons and required signatures. When this was passed, and I've stated this before, do we undo everything we've done up to this point? You're talking about, and I mentioned Vincent Sauter, who was the original settler of Sauk Village, who doesn't have a street sign. Then we talked about Spencer Avenue, where some people reside. Joe Spencer only served 6 years on the village board. So do we take that sign away because it's not 12 years? We should do things that are done in behalf of Sauk Village and everyone, residents of Sauk Village, not everyone. When we start talking about designation of street signs, it should be even across the board. We don't hold one resident above the other necessarily because they did something profound, whatever that means. We just designated former Mayor Edward Pazel with a sign designation. We've honored Mark Collins, who was a former mayor, and he didn't serve 12 years of service. When we do things like this ordinance was sort of a quid pro quo. And quid pro quo is, I'll do this for you if you do something for me. And it should not be that way. Boards are bound in some respects to honor those prior to their coming into the picture. So there's no honor in me giving myself a street sign, but there's honor in board members deciding to give me a street sign. And I know there's no place on the agenda for comments later on, but I wanted to comment on Memorial Day. But one thing that happened on Memorial Day is that I spoke to some of the veterans that were present, and I asked them the question, did you ever give yourself an award? and none of them say, I gave myself a Purple Heart. I gave myself an award. Other people made the determination. So just as that happened, I think we should be mindful and let other people honor us instead of us honoring ourselves. This was done for the people that were honored to honor themselves. And it was in fact a quid pro quo. Now, taking it even further, they violated the village ordinance when they did that. And if you look at section 2-72, it says voting required, this is the village ordinance. And part of it says, unless you're involved, for those involved that can benefit, should not cast a vote. That's the village ordinance. And I'm paraphrasing.
That's in the ordinance book. That's it. You don't have
That's
it.
in the,
No, you don't have
no,
it.
you don't have it. Well, you should have it.
It's
It's in the village ordinance book, and it's 2-72. And it says voting required is the heading of it. And if you read that, you will see that it says that anyone that benefits should not be voting. I should not vote for myself if I'm going to benefit from a street sign. I should not be allowed to cast a vote. That's basically what it says. So we have these individuals who have not been honored from Sauk Village, who have street signs, and we have individuals who allegedly did something profound for Sauk Village that are getting street signs. So we have double standards. And I think we should be operating off of double standards. Agnes Theodore, who was, I think, village clerk for 25 years or something like that, she doesn't have a street sign. Ted Theodore does. So do we take down Ted Theodore and put Agnes Theodore? We need to get on the same sheet of music and treat everyone equally.
Excuse me. Can we continue? Thank you.
Well,
Go ahead.
so I'm opposed to it the way that it's written. The standards of doing something profound, whatever that means, for Sauk Village. 50 signatures, 150 signatures. We should do something totally different if we're going to start designating street signs for anyone in Sauk Village. That's all I have.
Does anyone else have anything to say about the ordinance?
Where we want to go with it, I guess.
That's what I'm asking.
Question.
Is anyone, okay, what I'm trying to gather, what I'm trying to gather is that I think the trustee, and I'm not speaking for him, so I'm asking, is it that you want to repeal this particular ordinance?
I would like to have this placed on the agenda for the board meeting, and I would like to have a vote taken on whether or not this ordinance should be repealed.
So in other words, you'd like to put it on as a repealing this ordinance? I'm not going to ask for a vote now, but I will ask for questions concerning this particular ordinance. But I'm not going to ask, there's not going to be any vote or any consensus or anything like that.
I'd like to ask to see what the ordinance looked like prior to this version of it.
It didn't exist.
So this is it. So before it was just whenever somebody felt the need to recognize someone, they did it,
Yes.
versus this is the first time it's in writing.
Right, there was never an ordinance for this. This ordinance just, prior to this, it was just the board would vote to designate a sign. It would be brought up and asked if we can designate a sign for a person. That was brought up at the time, but that was brought up as a resolution.
Right.
It was brought up as a resolution. It wasn't brought up as an ordinance. It was a resolution to name such and such street or building or whatever in that person's name. But it was never, this is brand new. This is something that was never.
Okay.
And it keeps saying amending chapter 66 to include, well, chapter 66 has something, but nothing in here about that. Those were resolutions. When everyone that has a street sign, those were resolutions brought up and voted on.
So I guess then my comment trustee would be to say that I would be in favor of sitting down with you and rewriting this versus repealing.
Well, I think we may be stepping into the ordinance committee's ballpark. So I am willing to give you my suggestions, what to do with that, but then that becomes the ordinance committee's responsibility.
If you rewrite it, it has to go, it will go through the ordinance. But if you repeal it, no, it's just a repeal, you repeal the ordinance. So if you rewrite it, yes, you have to rewrite it, hand it, and let them look at it and review it, and then they would bring it back to the board.
Well, we could repeal it and then it goes, we could repeal it and then they could take up the issue of rewriting.
If they want to rewrite it, then yes, they can do that and then present that to the board. But you could repeal this particular ordinance. And then at a later date, if the ordinance committee wants to come back with a different ordinance, worded a different way, then the board would look at it, review it, and then, go from there.
I understand that there was a policy on this. Now, I don't know where the policies are kept, and this would have been back in maybe 20 years ago or longer, that there was a policy on this, not an ordinance. So I'm not even sure where to start looking for it. But I don't have a problem with the ordinance review going over and maybe rewriting an ordinance so that we're all on board. Trustee Tate, you were talking about streets like Murphy and Spencer and that. And I don't know if those were named after the trustees, and the reason I ask that is that we'll say, and I'm going to use Peckham as an example, Roger Peckham. He lives on a certain street. Well, the street isn't named after him, it just has an honorary sign. So I was wondering, and it's just a question, if Spencer and Thyssen, because Thyssen was our mayor for many, many years, because it doesn't say Roger Thyssen, it doesn't say Joseph Spencer. Were those streets named after the trustees and the mayor?
Spencer was, at the Joe Spencer.
Okay, and I was just wondering, because usually what you'll see with the honorary street sign is the street isn't named after him, it'll be in honor of. Well, you do have like Frank Wagner Drive, okay, but he didn't live there, he lived on another street.
Yeah, and I think somewhere, a matter of fact, it may be in this ordinance, it said that the sign should be different than the normal street sign. So if the normal street sign is green, it may be brown.
Right, it would
some
say
other
in honor
color.
of or honorary. So I think that we should really revisit, I mean, if, looking at this with signatures and, I think that maybe the ordinance should be rewritten.
Okay, then I'll ask now, do you want to put it on the agenda next week as a repealing this ordinance, and that's what it would be on the agenda. And then at a later date, the ordinance review committee can review and create a new ordinance. So I'm asking, is everyone okay with that particular part of it? That we put it on the agenda next week to be repealed, quite naturally you will vote. Then at a later date, anyone wants to get with the ordinance review committee to help create another ordinance for something similar to this, that can be done. So does anyone I'll put it this way, does anyone have a problem?
Had a finger spelling contest with Trustee Zupan. I'm going to give her my suggestions, and then they're going to be forwarded to Trustee Todd.
So you don't want it on the agenda?
Yes, I go back, yes, I would like it on the agenda to be repealed.
Okay.
But if that occurs, then she and I will work on giving suggestions to Trustee Todd.
You can't do that, but we can do is repeal it and then after that create.
To repeal the ordinance.
To repeal this ordinance on the agenda for next week.
Can I ask a question? Now, if we repeal this, what about the two street signs?
You're repealing this ordinance. We're not taking the street signs down. That's not what we're asking for.
No, but the ones that were approved?
They're approved.
Okay, that's what I'm just asking.
Yeah, they're approved.
All right.
He's not asking to have those taken down. He's asking, the ones for Schultz and for Rosie Williams and for.
That's it.
Okay. Okay? All right, back to trustee Tate's again. Items purchased for Village Hall. For Village Hall, not from, for Village Hall.
Okay, couple of things. Trustee Zupan, I had issued a memorandum prior to your being appointed, so your name wasn't on the typed version. I think I may have written it in. That's my slide. So that's why your name doesn't appear, just so that you'll know. And this is incorrectly stated on here. What I did, I took a look at Village Hall and the Senior Center, and I used those two locations. I did not use the police station, the fire station, and as the EMA doesn't have a building anymore. So I just used the Village Hall here and the Senior Center as the guidelines. And the reason I did this was that I had a veteran who about 2 years ago had brought to my attention that the eagle on top of the American flag, the wings are broken, and I tried to get that purchased unsuccessfully. And there are a lot of those type things that exist. In addition, when we had, again, back to Memorial Day, and I'm not going to discuss that because we don't have that on the agenda, we only have one flag at the Memorial Day ceremony. Now, I'm thankful to the fire department. The fire chief, he did provide the color guard and the people for that. But I think we should have materials that we can support if it's a Memorial Day celebration or something else is going on, that we have the ability to support that. When we had our Veterans Day program, we asked that the color guard provide the flags to be used in that ceremony. So what I gave each of the trustees was some color copies of things that could be utilized, of flags and equipment that could be utilized to make ourselves more self-sufficient. And it includes flag poles and stands and that type of thing. Subsequent to that, I continued to do some research, and I did not give these out to the trustees. For cost, we are able to purchase things to be utilized. Now, if you look at this one, it talks about on the right-hand side, you see the 4 flags that are there? And you see on the right-hand side, it lists what's included in the price of it. And that's in this case, the eagle, or there's other emblems that can use, the flagpole, the flag, and then the stand for it. So it's one unit. When we get it in Village, if we purchase it and we receive it, we receive it as one unit, and then we could have, I imagine, Public Works or someone to put them in here. You'll also see that when I priced these things out, I included not only the American flag, which we should honor, that's my personal opinion, but also the members of the other branches of service. If you go into some village halls, they have the Marine Corps, the Air Force, the Army, they have all of the branches represented. And I see nothing wrong with us doing that. Now, what I did is I stated, I updated things from the first part that I gave you. I priced out what it would take for the village to purchase. Now, this is to place the American flag and the state of Illinois flag. I think the senior center has 2 of each, if I'm not mistaken. But that's to replace those over there and to do something here in Village Hall. So I'm not sure if the chief of police or if the fire chief want to do anything with their buildings, but if they did, they could certainly let you know, Mr. Mayor, and we could add them if the village, if this board decided to do that. But these are things that I wanted us to consider making these purchases and getting things in place because of Memorial Day has passed, but we have Veterans Day, which is coming up in November. And we do things for the military 2 days out of 365. We do it Memorial Day and we do it Veterans Day. And so, since we were unable to do that on Memorial Day, I would like us to try and be prepared to do it on Veterans Day program. And I'm free to answer any questions that you may have.
Why are you looking to purchase 5 embassy sets?
When you consider the branches of service, you have the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. That's 5.
Okay, so it's,
Yes.
one set is one flag, so you have to buy one for each branch.
Yes. And bearing in mind that a set includes all of those things that are listed there that I talked about earlier, is the top of it, the flagpole itself, the flag, and the stand for the flag. So all of those are included.
Okay, I misread the page, I thought one set was getting you all 5 flags.
Oh, I
It's
wish.
one set.
I wish. Any other questions? That's all I have.
I do have another question, sorry. When are we going to talk about budget season? And the only reason I'm asking is obviously this is a purchase that's not in the current budget.
No,
So,
right, he was just presenting it to us so we can have something to, basically, he's not asking, just something that we can add into the budget. So, no, you're right, we have.
yeah, but I mean, if he's got a definite desire to have everything in place prior to Veterans Day come November, so.
And we should have the budget in place prior.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, again. So yes, we can definitely look this over. I saw the pricing and everything. That's something that we can definitely, and that's something that we definitely need. You're absolutely right. We have no flags in here for the armed services. So that's something that we can look at. Trustees can take a look at this. If you got any questions about it, feel free to let Trustee Tate know, but that's something that we can look to. It's not astronomical. It's something that we really have never had and something that we should have, especially when putting on programs to that effect. Any questions? Any other questions? Okay. No, I'm not going to put that on the agenda. That's something that we have to, no, I'm not going to put, because we're not going to vote any money out for that. Not right now. Okay, number 9, ordinance amending chapter 6 for the licenses. We talked about this last week for the license, for the liquor license, and I talked it over with a few people, including our lawyers. And what we need to do, since we're going to have people coming to the village requesting these parlors that we have, that we create a separate license for that. And if you notice, does everyone have that ordinance in front of them? This is ordinance, there's no number on it, because it's brand new. This, okay. I didn't have anything yet, I had to bring mine. Does everyone have this ordinance, particular ordinance that shows that, right, it was in the mailbox. Did you have one? Right. But you guys share it until we can get it. Do you have one? Trustee Brewer? Yeah. Trustee Zupan, okay. Anyway, this is an ordinance that creates specially for Class R3. So if you look on the second page, down at the bottom, number 6. And what we need to do, because if we do have the parlors here in the village, we need to have a special ordinance for them because this is a special circumstance.
I was just going to ask, can you define Class R3 for me?
That's what I was going to.
Because as I was looking at the rest of the ordinance, it also, talks about numbers of licenses, which you have number 6 being amended to include the Class R3. So I was
Right.
just going to ask for a rundown of what the different classes,
Okay, I'm sorry.
from a definition standpoint, what
Okay.
the different
Class
classes
A.
are.
Class A and Class A2 and A3? Is that what you're trying to say, the different classes?
Yeah, and B1, R1, R2, what's the differences? Class O, what are the differences between these different licenses?
Okay, that's not in this ordinance, that's in our actual book. I'll have to get those to you. I want to make sure that I read it correctly. But those are the licenses that we have currently. Class B, Class A2, A3, B1, and that's it. And then now we're creating R3. Yes. No, we're not creating R2. We were looking at that and it's not conducive to what we need to.
R2 and R3 concerns certain food in the establishment. For instance, if you have, I don't know, maybe a gang and power, it concerns whether or not food will be sold in addition to whatever else is going on there. I'm not sure how exactly what it is supposed to.
Which one, R2 and R3?
R2 and R3.
Okay, R3, if you can look at it, it states, a license shall authorize the retail sale of beer and wine only in a video gaming cafe bistro. Beer and wine shall be served as an adjunct to cafe fare. Cafe fare shall be defined as light appetizers, sandwiches, wraps, salads, and bakery products. Cafe fare shall be prepared on site or provided by a caterer, a restaurant or bakery, and made available for retail sale and consumption by patrons during the hours that the retail sales service and consumption of beer and wine is permitted, but whose business model focuses on providing video gaming for its customers. A video gaming cafe bistro may, but does not have to, provide on-site kitchen, but shall maintain at a minimum a refrigerator, cooler, microwave oven, heating lamps, and other food-related equipment necessary to offer and maintain fresh cafe fare during hours of operation. Convenience stores and gas stations do not qualify as video gaming cafes. Is that?
How much revenue does the village anticipate getting if we change these to, I know this has nothing to do with it, but I'm just out of curiosity, the ordinances. I know this is for light alcohol. So how much revenue generally do we get that, when we issue a license?
I have no idea. We only have one place that has a
Only one?
license. So I have no idea how, it depends on how many people come in there to use the machines. What is our cut?
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned, I have to look that up. I'm not sure because it's different.
And how are we gonna safeguard those under 21?
Oh, that's gonna be, this is just a license. All that other stuff has to be done in the village, and they have to, if you ever been inside Hometown Gateway, you'll see there's a sign that says must be 21 to enter to that particular site. So you have to be 21 years old to go into where the video machines are, yes. So in a cafe like that, that all they do is have that, it has to be 21 to come in.
Going back to, I guess I need to get my hands on the book and understand the definitions of the different classes. Again, with your first sentence here, though, Class R3 licenses shall authorize the retail sale of beer and wine only in a video game cafe/bistro. What other establishments can qualify as a Class R3 license that you're eliminating the ability of them to sell beer and wine because you're putting the verbiage in here about video gaming cafe/bistro only?
Okay, as I stated before, R3 is only for video gaming only. It's, and that's what that's basically Walgreens, was it Benny's, don't qualify for video gaming, so therefore they don't qualify for R3.
One thing I don't have with me tonight, but I can bring it in and give a copy to Trustee Brewer next week. There was a breakdown of communities in this area who had adopted similar ordinances. And one of the communities that's not far from here received like $3 million over the year because of the gaming aspect of it. I'll bring the article in and make copies so that everyone can see it.
So all I'm asking is to okay that particular license and, excuse me, are we disturbing you guys? All I'm doing is asking the board to okay that particular license, to put it in place. So, and then as the applications come in, I will be coming back to the board and asking to grant another license, So that's all I'm asking, is to actually grant that particular license and go from there. So that'll be on the agenda for next week, to be voted on R3.
So somebody's going to supply us the definitions of the R1 and R3.
I'm going to supply you with the book unless you look at it. It's in the book, it's in your ordinance book. I mean, I can show you where it's at. I don't know right now, but I do have the book in the office. Do you have a copy of the ordinance book? Yeah? Okay. It's in there. That's why I don't want to recite it because I may leave something out or may not add the wrong thing to it. But yes, there's a book in there, and it does explain what each one is. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for us to go into executive session for personnel matters only. Who said? Trustee Brewer made the motion, second by Trustee Todd. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Brewer? Yes. Trustee Grant? Yes. Trustee Jones?
Executive session.
Oh, okay.
Trustee Tate?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes?
And Trustee Zupan?
Yes.
Motion carried. We'll be back in a few minutes. Then after that, we'll be going to public comment. Are you going to reconvene? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Brewer? Here. Trustee Grant? Trustee Jones?
Here.
Trustee Tate?
Yes.
Trustee Todd? Here. Trustee Zupan? Here.
Okay, public comment, questions and comments from the audience?
Oh, they got plenty, we've been talking. They got plenty.
Okay. Each person will state your name, you have 3 minutes, and topic is at your pleasure. Oh, somebody please give her a mic.
Tammy Jones. First, I want to say thanks for the grass cutting on 223rd by that ravine. I appreciate it. Second, you mentioned your plan that you're working on, and there was a blurb in there about the school. Can you share that with me at some other time? And then, last but not least, Sunday evening, there was a shooting literally in front of my house. That party had cars, both sides of the street, corner to corner. Is that allowed? Because Sauk Village Police came down there a couple of times, and not one ticket was issued, not one cop stopped, got out the car, knocked on the door. When they started arguing, I called in and said, hey, it's out of control. Dispatch told me, no, not dispatch, because I called the non-emergency. He told me, yeah, we've gotten several calls, there's a car en route. It still took 15 minutes for them to get there. By the time they got there, it was a person on my porch, another one laid out in the grass. I know you just starting this, but I'm gonna need you to grab a hold to the police department, because I ain't never had no nonsense on my block in 15 years, and I would like not to have any other nonsense on my block like that again. That party was out of control, and they did nothing each time they rolled through there. Unbelievable.
I'm
listening, go ahead.
Madam Jones, I just wanted to tell you that, first of all, I appreciate the call that you gave. It was about 10:10 that night. I immediately called the chief to find out what was going on, and he told me about what had happened, and that he was en route to the scene himself. Then after that, I went and did some checking myself to find out that they were issued permission to park on both sides of the streets, and they were going to have a party, but it was just going to be a small party. I understand it turned out to be 100 or more people that were out there. So from now on, and this is something that we talked about, me and the chief, that any request for parties or parking on both sides of the streets at this particular time will be denied unless it's approved by the mayor. So right now, there will be no request to have that type of parking on both sides of the streets. And the second thing, the shooting that happened there was something between, I guess, rival neighborhoods, the way I understand it, because it was one neighborhood from another municipality came over to crash that particular party for that reason. And I did tell him about the response time, so that was duly noted. So, but I'm just glad that you called, so this way I know when I went and talked to him and let him know that a resident did call, and that's exactly what happened. And I think I stayed in communication with him until about 11:30, 12 that night. So just wanted to let you know I appreciate that. But there will be no more block parties or anything parking on both sides of the streets right now until further notice. Because we were wondering if there's going to be retaliation. And I even asked why there was nobody taken into custody at that time, because people were shot. So if somebody should, so it's ongoing. That's all I can tell.
Time was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Those folks were gone.
And I asked about that too. So it's being looked at now, but that's not acceptable, the time it took to get there. I know that's not the answer to the question, but I just want to let you know that we're still on top of it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jackie Blaze. I ask again why everyone in the senior center was told to pack up and get out, except the ceramic room. They're still in there. I'd like to know why. I ask again why that broken, ugly orange fence is still installed around the retention pond behind the village hall. No other retention pond anywhere has such a fence. That pond has been there for a number of years, and there's never been a problem. It seems to me the problem is with the adults. They don't watch the kids. They just want to leave their kids alone. I would like to know why you hired someone in a position that does not exist, that has not been voted on by the public. You hired her behind closed doors. And that's your secretary. I would like to know why Ms. Brewer lied to the reporter and said she gave the seniors 2 weeks to get out when she only gave them 7 days. And as far as the call on the 100 people, the police department did show up in a good time. They also called in Cook County, Stager, Crete, and Linwood. And at the same time, there was another call on Olivia of a DOA of a young lady. So they were split. They also called in our fire department to help. I think they did a wonderful job in dispersing. Yes, people got shot, but like you said, it was a rival gang that came from the heights, and that's who was doing the shooting. That's all.
That's it? Okay. As far as the ceramic group, no one is in the senior center. So I don't know, maybe they had the supplies there for what reason, but no one is in the senior center as of right now. So I don't know where that comes from, as if they're meeting there. No one is doing that.
No, they're not meeting. Their
Okay.
merchandise is.
But their stuff is still in there. I saw that. I don't know. As far as the fence around the pond, we had to put something around it. Detention. That's a detention pond until we can get it fixed. We have kids out here. We have kids out here. School is out. We have to put something around it. The fence keeps falling down from whoever, the kids or whatever, but we don't have the money to put a permanent fence around there. But we are going to have it fixed as a drain tile that's collapsed, and we have to dig it from that point all the way to the other side to this warehouse right over here on the street. So that has to be taken care of. Once that's drilled through and we argue through that and fix it, then that'll be taken care of. So that fence has to be there. It may be ugly, but it's a deterrent. I mean, I don't want some little kid running through there. And you're right, somebody should watch the kids, but in the meantime, we can leave that fence up. That fence may be ugly, but it protects it. It does its job is to deter somebody. Now, if somebody wants to run in there and jump in there, nothing we can do. But at least we can have something in place. As far as hiring my secretary, I have that it's not voted on by the public. I don't know where that came from, that the public votes on.
I meant the board. I'm sorry.
Okay. I hired a person, and that's the right of the mayor to hire a secretary for that reason. I cannot do everything. I am doing a lot of other aspects of the village. We have no village manager right now, and I do need someone to transcribe and to write the notes that I have to do and get back into correspondence. So yes, I did hire a person. The board knew I was going to hire. No, they didn't know who, but I mean, that's something that's it's not a great cost, but yes, I did hire the person. That was my call, to hire a person as secretary. That's personal. And as far as Ms. Brewer, you said she lied about what?
She told the reporter that she gave everybody 2 weeks to pack up and get out when she gave them 7 days.
Some people are still moving now. Some people actually, I saw someone in there today moving stuff out. So that's longer than 2 weeks. Some people moved out. She gave them the time to move out. But some people were moving today out. I saw that today.
The seniors were told, get out or I'll throw your stuff away.
I'm sorry, I didn't see. I wish you could show me something like that, because I didn't hear that it was actually stated that get out or throw my stuff away. If that's written somewhere, or you heard that from somebody?
No, I was told that.
You were actually told that to get out or throw your stuff away.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Linda Washington. First of all, I want to say I see some trustees up here really on your job. I want to commend you for doing a good job since you've come to the board. That's a good thing. That's why elected officials are elected by the public, to ask questions and to know what's going on in the entire village. It doesn't matter if it's not your committee, you still should know overall scope of what everybody is doing, so that's a good thing. Also, I wanted to say that I guess it depends on where you live, because I called the police. Where I live in the cul-de-sac, they had a big party. Not only do they park on both sides of the street, they park in the middle of the cul-de-sac, directly in the middle. They blocked the whole cul-de-sac. They don't park up in the driveways. They sit right in the middle every Sunday when there's a game. I call the police. It takes them approximately 40 minutes to come. I called about a basketball rim through Memorial Day weekend. They never came. They knocked down my neighbor's fence and drug a basketball hoop from another block through the backyard. My neighbor took me and showed me their fence where they knocked it down and drug that basketball over to our block and played in the middle of the cul-de-sac, cussing, playing rock and roll music, profanity coming through the cars, playing all kind of music all night long, and the police didn't come for 40 minutes. I called the police, I called Calcom, I called repeatedly, and the police did not show up. Then when I did call back the last time and talk to the dispatcher in Sauk Village, I was told by the police, if you're not satisfied with what has happened so far, you need to come to the police station and say it in person. Who does that, really? The police did go to the house. I said, if the police can go to the house, that's an organized police department that has been through an academy, then you tell residents to remove a basketball rim that's not theirs, and they tell you that they're not going to do it. If you're not going to do what the police say, then you have people turn into vigilantes, and they want to go outside and take it upon themselves and get order back on their block. Also, we know that every mayor is the liquor license commissioner. So when David Hanks was the mayor, they voted no not to have no more liquor licenses. So now we can have more liquor licenses all of a sudden. I just find that strange. As far as the village treasury is concerned, we have been paying the bills, paying accounts payable for the last year that the village treasurer has not been in the village. Mohan has been doing all of that work. I don't understand why all of a sudden it's like the business cannot be taken care of. We do need a village manager, but we do not need an economic developer for the village. I feel at this time, since we don't have any money, why are we hiring people to make up jobs? And I think I heard you say there that it's personal about what your secretary is being paid. If they're being paid with your personal funds, you know, that may be so, but I'm gonna FOIA you that and find out from another attorney if that's private, what you pay anybody, because I thought anybody being paid by government, that's public knowledge, it's not a secret. And I also wanted to say that we were not able to enter the building on Monday as the Human Relations Commission, and I think it's a travesty to lock us out the building. You talk about volunteers and that they're invaluable, but everything that we try to do, we're locked out.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I was waiting for you to answer.
Those were comments.
No, that's your mayor that never answered. Idiots. I have a couple of things. First, can I get a copy of your plan?
Thank you, Mike.
Sorry, my name is Kathy Betcher. I'd like to get a copy of your plan if that's possible.
Sure.
Second, the Lake Michigan water, I'm just gonna say this once. I was at a meeting with the state of Illinois or whoever was out here, EPA, and we were told we cannot get it.
No.
We can't get it. So why we're going to get more money coming in for Michigan water is crazy. Second, how many new positions did we get? Are we getting, and what are they? I just would like to know. And what are our plans for these abandoned houses? We've got one on our go-around here that is so bad, and it's more than just an eyesore, it is a danger. It's really in bad shape. Kids are playing in there, kids are on the porch is falling down, windows are broken, somebody's going to get hurt. One last thing, and I agree with Mr. Tate. As far as getting new things, that's great. I think you should